Zane and the Hurricane, A Story of Katrina by Rodman Philbrick. Chapter 12. Terrible Things. Later, when I'd had time to think about it, the thing that impressed me most about the man with the hat was how he kept so calm. I was all frantic, convinced I'd drowned 2 people, but by the time my eyes cleared, he'd already lifted the girl up to the roof and was reaching out a hand to help me. "No big thing," he says, shaking the water from his dreads. "We got a little wet is all." Like it happens every day, being tipped out of a canoe. And the weird thing is, the cause of it all, my stupid dog Bandy, he's balanced on the peak of the roof with his tail wagging, shook the water off and doesn't even look wet. It's only us dumb humans that are soaked to the skin. "I'm sorry," I say, spitting out dirty water. "Really, really sorry." The man has got hold of the swamped canoe and pulls it under the eave. "Accidents happen," he says. "No apology required. Okay, next thing I'm fixing to get my hat and then bail out our transportation. You children keep hold this roof till I'm done. We good?" He's looking firm at the girl. "Good," she says with a nod. He scoops up his straw top hat, takes the feather from the brim and holds it in his teeth, and uses the hat to bail out the canoe. When he's done, he slips the feather back in the brim band, puts the hat on the top of his head, and shows us how to slide down the roof into the canoe while he holds it steady. When we're safe in the canoe, the girl in the front, and me in the middle holding Bandy, the man hoists himself into the stern of the canoe, making it look easy. After he's settled, he opens the latch of the little storage compartment, takes out a plastic bottle of water, and hands it to me. "Sip at it slow," he suggests. "Maybe pour a little in your hand, let that dog lick it up." Warm water never tasted so good. I nod thank you, and Bandy makes a grateful whimper. "There now, we good to go," the man says, straightening the clunky, black-framed eyeglasses on a slightly bent nose. "Keep a sharp lookout for my paddle. Can't have drifted too far." That's another thing for me to feel sorry about, that the paddle got lost when we tipped over. But before I can really get to worrying about it, the girl shouts, "Yo! Over there!" The man dips his hands and arms into the water like he's swimming the canoe along, and slowly strokes over to where she's pointed. Sure enough, he finds the paddle, barely visible in the dark water. "Just like Christmas morning," he says, picking it up. "Okay, we back on mission. Next stop, someplace dry." "Where we going, True?" the girl asks. "Place I know?" Then he turns to me and says, "I'm Trudell Manning. Some folks call me True. Miss Malvina Rollins, you already know. Me and Malvina, we family most. Not blood, but family just the same." "You my blood, True," Malvina pipes up. "Whatever you say, darling." Then he looks at me patiently, as if waiting for me to respond. "Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm Zane Dupree." "Dupree? That's a local name, but you ain't." "No, sir, I'm not from around here." "Makes no difference," he says with a shrug. "You one of us now." He dips the paddle, and the canoe begins to move along, gathering speed. We glide away from what's left of Granny's home and into another world, or so it seems, a world of rooftops, poking along above the flood like little black islands, and trees crawling up through the water like the gnarled hands of the drowned. A world where the water and the sky melt together until you can't tell where one begins and the other ends. The air feels wet and heavy and stinks of sewer and oil and smoke. Somewhere something is burning, but we can't see what. Only the smoke like a gray smear in the sky. We glide along for a while, and then the skinny girl, Malvina Rollins, she turns to me and announces out of the blue, "True, a famous musician." "Oh, yeah? Cool." "He play trumpet, cornet, tuba, trombone," Malvina says, ticking the instruments off on her fingers. "Anything brass. True play it real good." "Not trombone," he says, chuckling. "I heard you," she exclaims. He pauses to rest his paddle. "For your amusement, darling. But the fact is, I'm not a slide man. Trumpet, cornet, pocket trumpet, yes. Tuba in a pinch, but not trombone. Not really." "Could if you wanted," she says, expression triumphant. He seems pleased by the notion. "No doubt. True jammin' with all the big names," she says proudly. "He down with Winton, Kermit Jr., everybody." Mr. True smiles indulgently. Studio work, he explains to me. Wynton Marsalis, Kermit Ruffins, Harry Connick Jr., Randy Newman, the Neville brothers. Anybody needs a horn, I'm there. But backing up famous musicians don't make me famous. Wish it did. You're famous to me, Melvina insists. He grins, dips the paddle into the filthy water, and says he doesn't know how far we'll have to go exactly. Flood change everything, he explains, glancing around at the landscape of submerged buildings. We got to feel our way along till we get to a place I recognize. So we lost? Melvina asks, teasing. Nah, he says. We not lost. Nah, sir. Got a compass in my head, always points me right. True dat, says Melvina, nodding. He notices my confusion, explains. True dat has nothing to do with my name. It's the way we say that's true, only it means something more, something like, I agree with you because we both sees things the same way. Nowadays, it's kind of a cliche thing, 'cause everybody say it, even tourists. Malvina giggles. True dat, true, she says. Now she playing with us, he says, grinning. We keep going, Mr. True paddling in a steady rhythm, gliding us along. After a while I get to staring down at my hands, thinking about my mom and Grammy, and how I really messed up this time. Bandy snuggles closer, but for some reason that doesn't make me feel any better. Feeling sorry for myself and not really paying attention to where we're going until Mr. True says in a voice of wonder, Will you look at that? We've come up along the sunk houses and into an open area, big as a lake, and right in the middle is this giant, rusty, red steel box, a great huge thing as long as a city block. Looks like it dropped out of the sky and crushed a bunch of houses that stick out from under it like water-soaked kindling. Impossible, but there it is. That a barge from the industrial canal, he says softly. Must have busted through the levee, knocked all them homes off their foundations. He turns away as if it is much too painful to see such a thing. After that, I really start paying attention. All kinds of stuff float by as we glide through the water. A basketball, an empty styrofoam cooler, soda bottles, hunks of wood, plastic toys, cups and bowls, a big old rusty water heater, a red gasoline jug, parts of a doll, papers, books, clothing, precious things and garbage all mixed together, lifted by the flood. We keep going for a while, nobody saying much, like what we're seeing is beyond words. Things still have names, but they're different in the water, out of place, and don't look right. At one point we come upon a long, skinny wooden thing that seems strangely familiar. Takes me a moment to figure out what it is. A little wind-vane steeple from the New Mission Zion Baptist Church, floating sideways. A big crow with black glittering eyes perches on the fat end of the steeple, squawking as we glide by. Despite the muggy heat, I shiver deep in my bones. Everything looks so strange and wrong and mixed up, like a bad dream, except that even in my worst nightmare I could never have imagined, say, a huge mass of bugs swarming over the surface of the water, splashing and twirling around like crazy things all knotted together. Cockroaches, Mr. True says, steering away from the swarm of insane insects. You afraid of bugs? Melvina asks me. If they bite, I admit. Roach don't bite, do it, True? Not normal, no, he says. Can't say what a creature might do flooded out of a home. We pass another swarm of roaches. No snakes, though. I hope they're kidding about snakes in the water, but just to be sure, I keep my hands inside the boat. Bandy has settled into my lap like it's no big deal riding in a canoe through a flooded city with crazy birds and clicking bugs and a giant house-crushing barge and a group of garbage bags slowly bobbing in the current. Something's wrong about the garbage bags. I don't know what exactly, not right away. Terrible thing happened here, Mr. True says softly. We're gonna steer our way through it all. Don't let nothing touch us. He pedals strong and fast, veering left. Don't look back, he advises. Nothing we can do. Malvina starts to sing. Jesus loves me in a high, clear voice, and that's when I know that what I'm seeing isn't garbage bags. It's the barely floating remains of those who couldn't get away, who were too old or sick to climb up into the attic like me and Bandy did. Dead people, drowned by the flood. Malvina begins to weep and can't finish the hymn. Bandy crawls out of my lap and goes to her, and she hugs him to her chest. Good dog.